root chakra class, you will need, it's a mat-based class, so you can make it more accessible by sitting down when we're doing exercises that just involve the upper body. You can also have a chair nearby so that for the standing poses, you can have your hand on a chair, you can do your forward folding on a chair. That just makes the class a little bit more restorative. Because it just gets in the way, but every time I would recommend you using it, I'm going to tell you about it. If you're not using a chair, in fact, even if you are using a chair, if you have a block handy, maybe even 2 blocks, 1 should be sufficient, but if you've got 2, even better. If you don't have blocks, then find some chunky things. Shoe boxes are always good, but you need to fill them up so they're nice and solid and sturdy, so you could actually put some weight on them without them just crumpling and you falling into a crumpled mess. We may use a bolster later. You could have a couple of pillows. It's just to lift our sacrums up for a bit of a restorative bridge later. So you could use your blocks with something nice and soft padding over the top. I've got blankets there in case I need them. If you're cold, you'll need blankets for Shavasana. I'm unlikely to get cold over here. I don't know if you've still got your heat wave. Anyway, I'm just gonna see. Oh, Pete's here. Hi, Pete. Great. So I've got teachers here. This is amazing. So, yeah, so have your chair handy, have your blocks handy, and today's root chakra class is going to be an exploration about our relationship to the earth. So we're going to be exploring gravity, we're going to be exploring different positions, different relationships to the earth with our bodies. So the first relationship we need to kind of explore, I would say, is a Shavasana. So come down, lying on your back, and you can have your knees bent or you can have them straight. Whatever makes your sacrum, your lower back feel more comfortable. And then what I would do is just wriggle my shoulders away from my ears. I'd flatten out my shoulder blades a little bit and find the space in the back there between the shoulder blades, so I can feel the spine that is sinking towards the floor between the shoulder blades. And I probably want my palms turned up and the arms away from the body, and if that was more comfortable for me. Really, it's just to assess this relationship between our body and the earth in this position. And we're going to go through some regular, not fancy, but usual yoga poses that we do. And we're going to assess the relationship and how this relationship feels. So this first position, we are literally letting the earth have our backs. So I want you to kind of try and embody that. Use your breath and just see if you can sink into the earth and let the earth hold you. So in a way, it's a very vulnerable position. The whole of the front body is open, and we're open. It's very vulnerable. It's free. And we can only get a sense of this openness in the front of the body, open heart, free, legs open, arms wide open. This is a real kind of safe position. We have to be safe to be able to take this position. Otherwise, it can be quite daunting. It can be impossible to feel this open and free if we haven't got that safety and that holding from the back body. So strong back, safe back, held back. Feeling that you're sinking into the earth, and you can feel the contact points between your body and the earth at the back of the body. So you can think about those points that you can feel touching the back, touching the floor. So the back of the head, you can feel the contact point between the back of the head and the floor. You can feel the shoulder blades and the floor. You probably feel the buttocks or the back of the hips in the floor. You probably get a very strong sense of the back of the hands and the heels in the floor. So those contact points, I want you to try and melt into those contact points. And every time you breathe out, you can imagine that they are sinking or spreading out. So use the out breath now. And what this is going to be able to do is really connect you to that sense of gravity. We are constantly swimming in a sea of gravity. If we didn't have gravity, we'd be floating away. And our relationship to the earth is based around gravity, and we can really sense into this feeling when we breathe out. It's the kind of easiest way to tap into our heaviness, our steadfast, our security, our stability. And you can feel the energy kind of drops down as you breathe out. If you were floating in the sea and you breathe out all of your air, you kind of sink underneath the level of the sea. Whereas as you breathe in, you float like an inflatable. So you can actually feel with the in-breath and the out-breath, you can feel the difference between these two sensations. Your in-breath, it allows you to contact the front body, that open, that buoyancy, that lightness. And your out-breath allows you to contact that deep security, the stability, the safe holding of the earth. So just spend a few more breaths here, exploring that relationship to the earth. You're not just lying on the ground, you are held in the loving arms of the mother. And there's a very big difference between lying or just lying there and being held. When you're held, you can let go much more. So see if you can drop your weight into the earth. Another 2 deep breaths here. Connect with the earth. You're not really different from the earth. You are the earth. Connect to that part of you that is the same as the earth. And then deepen your breathing. Start to wriggle and stretch. I like to wiggle the fingers and toes, roll the ankles, roll the wrists. You can roll the arms and legs in and out. And you could also bring the legs towards each other and stretch the arms overhead. You can stretch long, you can point and flex the feet, you can stretch the arms overhead, you can stretch one side, the toes and the fingertips stretching away from each other, and the other side. And then you can bring your arms back alongside the body, bend your knees. And I like to just shift my hips over to one side and roll to the opposite side. And then use my hand to come up. So we'll come up to a seated position. So you can sit on a chair, you can sit on a bolster, you can straddle, you can sit cross-legged. I'm actually going to, I think I'll sit on a couple of blankets today. I'll sit cross-legged, maybe I'll take 3 blankets. So I've got some height. It's really nice to have some height when you're sitting. And often just sitting on a chair is the easiest and most accessible way of sitting without straining. So straddling the bolster, sitting cross-legged. If you're sitting cross-legged, lift up on something so that the hips are a little bit higher than the knees. And if you're sitting on a chair, have your feet flat on the floor. The heels under the knees, space between the knees. You can use your fists to kind of work out how to have the knees going straight out from the hip bones. And we're just going to come to a seated position. We're going to try and line up the spine now in terms of it being completely perpendicular to the floor. So you might want to drop your gaze or close your eyes for this. And now we're seeing if we can line our spines up with gravity so that if we were completely, perfectly perpendicular to the floor, not leaning to the side, forwards or backwards, then gravity would just enable us to drop, line up our bones and just let go of all the muscles that hold us up. So if you think about the muscles and their job, mainly their job, apart from to move us around, is to stop us falling over. So if I lean forward all the time in my life, then the back muscles are going to be constantly switched on to try and pull me back up. If I constantly lean over to one side, then the other side is constantly going to be firing up to pull me up. So as you contemplate this as a type of meditation, an anatomy meditation, just see if you can come to that sort of effortlessness. Up, and if we have the ears above the shoulders above the hips, and the pelvis really grounded, then we can start to switch off some of the back body, some of the side body, some of the front body. And we can allow our posture to move gently with the breath as it comes in and out. the rib cage is going to be expanding and contracting with every breath in and out. So we can tap into that. So it's not a static held pose. We're always recalibrating as we move. You know, when you try and balance, if you hold your breath and you keep really still, eventually you're going to have to breathe and sway slightly. Your body will find balance that way. And now I want you to think about this, the vertebrae, the spinal column. And I want you to think about the lower back. They are planted deep into the earth. And as you breathe down, and there's a long line as you breathe out of the head, center of the throat, down the spinal column, pubic bone, down into the core of the earth. Core of the earth, into the pelvis, up the spine, through the neck, the head, and out through the crown of the head and beyond the crown of the head. And as you breathe out, imagine that you're coming down spine, through the pelvis and down deeper. And each breath you can go up higher with each in-breath and down lower with each out-breath, so that you become this, oh, your breath is like a pipe cleaner, I guess, cleaning out that whole chakra system. And you become this channel between earth and spirit. And then I want you to linger with the out breaths. If you can, if it's comfortable for you, breathe out a little bit more each time. Lengthen the exhalation, not with any stress or strain, so that you can sink a little bit deeper. Feel the pelvis getting heavier. The root chakra is found at the base of the pelvis. It's the pelvic floor, and it relates to our relationship to the earth, the legs, the feet, everything below the pelvic floor. So as you linger with the end of the out breath, let this earth. And if you want, the root chakra symbol is a square. On the black dot. And the black dot is this tunnel that leads right into the core of the earth. If visualization's not your thing, just stick with the breath. You have a breath. Breathing in up the spine and beyond, breathing out down the spine and beyond. And if visualization's your bag, then you could, if it's not too complicated, imagine that this red square that you're sitting on, the black dot that you are sitting on, red square is actually the base of an upside down pyramid, a four-sided pyramid that is going down into the core of the earth, and the point of that pyramid is right at the core of the earth, which means that this black dot it's a link to the core of the earth. So as you breathe out, you can go down deeper. You can travel down this beautiful black dot. It becomes this passageway to this very grounding experience, connecting you to the core of the earth. And you've always got that in-breath to come back up and climb back up, so it's safe. You're not sinking. You're not claustrophobic. You've got the in-breath, always have the in-breath to come back up, giving you lightness. But you can explore that deep, that heavy, that grounded sensation. And this is a practice, so if you haven't done it before and you're not feeling anything, you could practice it again sometime. Sometimes it becomes very powerful, sometimes maybe it feels like I'm not doing anything, but I am sitting still and I am breathing, and I am conscious the back of the neck a little bit. Just make some space here. Don't force or strain. Just gently lift the cranium bones off the upper vertebrae, just a touch. And breathe into that space in the back of the neck. Because often, as we hold our postures, looking at our little phones, or sitting at our desks, or just generally slouching as we do, 70% of the day we're in a flexed, slouchy position. This bit gets locked. And whatever we do to one part of the spine, we're doing to the other part of the spine. And if our spine isn't vertical and doesn't have its natural curves, like a beautiful arch of an architecture design, then we can't ground. We lose this connection with the earth. So just stretching out, all the breath can go to those points at the back of the head, right at the back of the bottom of the head, the skull. And you can take your breath there. Your inhale can really give it some energy, and your exhale can release and feel a gentle letting go. Again, the exhale connecting you to that gravity as if you're letting go of tension in the back of the neck. And then still with the chin down, just rolling the head from side to side. One side and the other side. And you can breathe naturally, you can breathe deeply, you can breathe fully, you can breathe however you like. You can breathe in one side, out the other, however you like. Finish with the chin to the center, still down. And when you inhale, center the head. And then as you exhale, bring your hands on your shoulders. And as you inhale, you're going to bring your elbows together and up. And then take them back. Squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other. Take the elbows back as far as you can. And then exhaling, still dragging them back, you bring them down. Inhaling together and up. And you can linger at the top of the in-breath if you want. Holding the breath as you continue to move, lifting the sternum, separating the collarbone, squeezing the elbows back, and then exhaling as the shoulders come down. And then one more. You can lift your head a little bit if that suits your neck. Yeah, we need this on Sunday morning. Let's go the other way. Inhale, back and up. Linger at the top of the breath as you reach the elbows up, and you can feel space between the side ribs, and then exhale. Keep that length, just drop the elbows and shoulders. Inhale, back and up. Now hold the breath in if it's fine with your own sense of breath. Then exhale, keep the length, drop the shoulders and elbows. One more time. Very nice. We can bring the hands back onto the thighs. Close the eyes again. You can change the position if you want to. We're just going to stay a couple more minutes like this. So you might want to cross the legs the other way or change the position. I'm going to have my palms flat because that's really nice and grounding. If I have my palms up, it's kind of receiving, it's lifting. If I have my palms down, it's grounding. And I'm just going to chant Lam. Lam is the seed sound of the root chakra. And when you chant Lam, the vibration of that sound just gives you this very grounded energy. You might feel it down in the pelvic area when you chant. You can chant it quite low down as well. We're just going to chant it 9 times. You can listen, you can join in. Just with one out breath, chanting Lam 9 times. So if you're ready, inhale deeply. Lam, 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 Lam. You may have felt that vibrating, resonating in the legs and the pelvis. So just let that vibration of the sound, the moment after the sound, just keep zinging around you before you move. So gently open your eyes and stretch out your legs. So you can stretch them out, you can wiggle the toes, you can roll the ankles, you can bounce the knees, and then come onto all fours. So you're welcome to put a blanket under your knees to make it more comfortable. We're going to come up onto hands and knees, Again, you could have a blanket under your knees to make the knees comfortable. You could, if you've got wrist issues, you could have your hands on a block, taking out the tough angle with the blocks a little bit. So we're just going to do some cat and cow. So hands and knees is an interesting one. As you breathe in, take the head, look forward, lift the sitting bones up, push the pubic bone between your legs and out of the back of the body, drop the chest and squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other, opening the collarbones. And as you breathe out, press the earth with the hands, curl the pubic bone back in towards the ribs, lengthen out the lower back, push the belly up into the lower back, lift breath, inhaling as you squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other, arch the lower back, look forward, and exhaling as you push the hands into the floor and curl. So hands and knees is an interesting one. You carry on rolling with the breath. Just notice with the exhale, if you push the floor away from you, you can get much more of a stretch and an opening. And this is where we use the earth. We work against gravity with our hands, pushing. You can even push with the tops of your feet and even with the shins as you exhale. And as you inhale, it's like we're relaxing, we're softening, and this gives us a back bend. This is a soft front. This is open. This is fearless. And as we exhale, we push the hands, the tops of the feet and the shins into the earth. And we arch like a cat who's really angry, pressing into the earth. So just assess that relationship with the earth and what it means to relax into the earth and be open, open-hearted, soft front, and to push into the earth to get this strength to really motivate and find energy. And it's the first position we come to when we're learning to walk. It's very stable. We've got 4 legs here, like quadrupeds. Very stable, very easy to find balance. Now we're going to come to a version of child pose. Take your own version of child pose. So you could use a bolster. You don't have to drop your bottom to your heels. I like to open my knees. I'm going to keep my hands on the floor. I'm going to bring my forehead to the floor. And in this child's pose, very, very gentle child's pose, I could have my head on a bolster or a block. But I've got my center of my forehead resting on the earth. You know, maybe through a block, through a blanket, through whatever I've got. My hands resting on the earth. And this is a pranam. This is a prayer. Here we can set to the earth. We can make intentions of how we're going to tread on the earth. Even for just today, how am I going to move today? Set an intention for the practice, for your life. Offer anything up that is too heavy to hold to the earth. And this is our pranam, our prayer, our offering up. And you can feel your forehead resonating with the earth, the palms of your hands offering down to the earth, sharing. Very nice. And then we're going to come up and we'll just do a bit more cat and cow. And then we'll tuck our toes under. Finish off my cats and my cows. Tuck our toes under. And I'm going to press into the earth, okay? I'm going to press into the earth with my hands. I'm going to move my bottom back. And it's like child pose, but I'm going to just move my bottom back whilst I press my hands forward. And I'm going to feel that pressing down and forward with the hands can press my bottom back to my heels. And I can even lift my knees off the floor there. It may or may not enable you to lift your knees off the floor. You can move your hands and just kind of work out different ways of doing this. This is going to stretch out the bottom of the feet. So our feet are our main communicators with the earth. There's so many nerve cells, and we put our feet in prisons and we put them in tiny little shoes, and we walk about in our shoes and we lose this connection to the earth. So it's nice to stretch out the bottoms of the feet. And from here, we're going to go from that position, pushing back with our bottoms, hands down and forward. We're going to move the shoulders away from the ears, and we're going to broaden through the collarbones. And we're going to keep pressing down and forward, and then start pressing down and back with the toes, with the balls of the feet. And we're going to keep that double kind of movement going, hands pressing forward and down, feet pressing down and back. And we're going to keep that as we lift the sitting bones as hard. And then you can settle here a little bit. You can settle into more normal down dog. You can stretch out, nod the head yes, and then settle back into that strength. Lift the heels a little, bend the knees a little bit, press the balls of the feet down and back, and the balls of the hands, you can imagine the hands have got balls as well, and the sitting bones up. I'm always going on about balls in my classes, so sorry about that. I use the myofascial balls and the balls of my feet a lot. It becomes quite a strange chat. Anyway, we're in the down dog, and the relationship to the earth now is we're pressing into the earth, and that is enabling us to lift the pelvis high. The pelvis is floating as we press down. Now we can step forward just like halfway to the front of the mat. And we can pigeon toe the feet a tiny bit so the outside edges of the feet are parallel. So probably the heels are out and the big toes are kind of pointing in a little bit. And I'm just moving my weight from the heels to the balls of the feet. And here I could use the chair. I can also use my blocks on any of the three settings, high, medium or low. I can have the knees bent, I can have the knees straight, I can have the spine straight, or I can have it slightly flexed. Whatever feels good for my back. And if you want to go into a full standing forward bend, if it's fine for your back, you can just let your spine waterfall down. If it's comfortable for you, take your elbows. If not, keep your hands on something. And just feel now the relationship between the heels and the earth. So have kind of 2/3 of your weight on your heels, 1/3 on the balls of your feet. Feel energy coming up the heels all the way to the sitting bones as you breathe in, coming up. And as you breathe out, just let that energy cascade down from the pelvis to the crown of the head as you breathe out. Breathing in, suck energy from the core of the earth to the heels and up to the pelvis. And as you breathe out, cascade like a waterfall as you come down. If you're on the chair, you can fold your arms and rest your forehead. And then we're going to soften the knees. Again, weight onto the heels. Lift the chest. If you need a little hand, then come up on the high setting of the blocks or hands on a chair. And we're going to take the arms behind us. And as we inhale, we're going to reach them forward, lifting the chest and pressing on the heels at the same time. And then keep pressing down on the heels, but stretch the fingertips up, maybe the knees. Down again. Okay, so we're going to come to plank. So you can do this on blocks or you can do it on the floor. If you're on blocks, I'd stick to the medium or the low setting. I wouldn't go high because it's not stable. I'm actually going to do it on the floor to show you. I brought my hands down, so this probably means I've crouched quite low. Knees are down, heels are up. I'm going to press into the floor, shoulders above the wrists, and I'm going to step my legs back. And I'm going to make sure that the top of my arm bones are really snugly tucked into my shoulders. I'm going to press my hands into the earth because remember, that's giving me the lightness in the body. Pressing my thumb and first finger in particular into the floor. I'm going to press my heels back. I'm going to pull my abdomen in. I'm going to really strongly tighten my thighs. And the pressing down is a new relationship to gravity. Pressing down gives me the strength to stay, and you can always bend the knees and still press down with the hands And you can still lift up with the belly. You're still getting that strong relationship to gravity, really pushing the earth away, resisting. And let that be your strength. And then come down to the earth. So you can come down how you want to. I'm going to bring the forehead on the floor again. I'm going to separate out my legs, and I'm going to lift as I separate. So I'm going to make some space in the front of the hip there. And I'm going to bring my hands under my shoulders. And before I come up into a gentle back bend, I'm going to press my pubic bone down into the floor, press my forehead into the floor, and I'm going to assess this relationship to the earth. So here I am, belly down on the earth, belly to belly, literally pubic bone, forehead, belly and chest, hugging the earth. And if you can do this naked in a field, it's the most beautiful thing ever. But make sure you don't get arrested. Make sure there's nobody there. Or you could do it at a festival where there's naked people all over. They love that. I've missed those festivals. So here is like another pranam. If you want to, you can stretch your arms out. Palms flat to the floor. Tops of the feet flat to the floor. Forehead to the floor. Pubic bone to the floor. This is another pranam. This is surrender. This is giving everything to the earth. The earth that gave you that strength in your plank. The earth that lets you walk upright. Just surrender everything, everything you have, everything that's too heavy. Know that you belong here. You have a right to be here. You have a right to take up space in your body. You're perfect, imperfectly. And you're imperfectly perfect. You're perfectly imperfect. You're just right. And bring the hands under your shoulders. Press down on the tops of the feet. And just curl the upper back off the floor, keeping the head facing the floor, the neck nice and long. Squeeze the shoulder blades and take the hands off the floor. Now upper body is resisting the floor. Upper body is building up strength as it lifts away, anti-gravity. Tops of the feet press into the floor. Lift the knees off the floor as the thighs are really strong and the pubic bone presses down. And then bring the forehead and the hand back to the floor. Tuck the toes under. Lift yourself gently into hands and knees and make your way back. You can do cat and cow here, or you can make your way back to down dog. Pressing hands forward and down, balls of the Now, I'm going to bring my feet a little bit closer to each other so that I can do a one-legged dog. So if this is strenuous, bring your chair there, bring your hands onto the chair. It's much more pleasant with a chair. You might want to keep your left heel lifted a little bit while you raise your right leg. Then you can see if it'll go down a little bit, or you can keep it up. Lift the right leg up, make some space in that hip, look between your hands, and it might be that you want to take your hip wide as you move it forward. It might be that you need to drop your knee and then move your foot forward. It might be that you move your foot on the floor and you bring it forward. It might be that you keep your knee up, somehow moving into a lunge. Right foot forward, left foot back. And then you're going to lift that back knee, press on the front foot. You're going to kind of get this projection forward with the back leg so that you can move your weight onto that front foot, hover there a little bit, build up the strength in that right leg, maybe even straighten the right leg, and then bring left foot under left hip. Press both heels into the floor now, both feet into the floor. Lift the chest as you drag the hands up the legs. Inhale and then exhale. Soften the knees as you fold. And then drop your bottom, take your arms behind you, lift your chest, and as you breathe in, push the heels down as you sweep the arms up. Lift the upper back, and as you exhale, soften the knees, weight on the heels, back into forward fold. Now come back to your plank pose. You've got a chance to do all this all again. Again, you can do plank with the chair, with your blocks. push into the earth, especially with the thumb and the first finger. Really suck in the arm bones into the shoulder sockets. Press the heels back, lift the thighs, lift the abdomen, and find your strength from the earth. Now keep that strength. As you slow motion, send your elbows back, your chest forward between your thumbs. Hands under the shoulders, the chest, the heart. Drop it down, tuck toes, come into hands and knees, come up to down dog. Push the earth away. As you press the earth away with hands and feet, feel how the spine floats up to the sky. The more you lean on the earth, the more weightless you become. I'm going to bring my legs closer together, my feet closer together, so I can take that left leg up. I might drop the heel. I might want to keep it up because it's quite intense otherwise. I might want to take that leg wide to get it forward. I might want to drop the knee, bring that foot forward. However I come forward, knee down, knee up. It's your playtime. Then I'm going to think about this standing leg. I'm going to lift the knee. I'm going to use my back toes to push me forward with the thought that if I get my hips over my foot, then I can find the strength to press into the earth. Maybe straighten that leg, maybe not. It doesn't matter. The strength is there anyway. To then slow motion, bring that right foot under the right hip. Slide the hands up the thighs, straightening the leg, lifting the heart, looking forward as you inhale. Slide down as you soften the knees, coming into a floppy forward bend. Drop the bottom, send the arms back, and as you inhale, press into the heels. Lift the chest and come up and stretch the hands away from the heels. And then exhale, bring the hands into the heart. Bring the heels underneath the hips. And when the hands are together like this, we're balancing the right and left sides of the body and the brain. And we've built up strength, but we've also built up lightness. Release the arms, release the shoulders. My eyes, I'd probably be quite imbalanced. In fact, if you are a bit wobbly, don't even bother with this experiment. You'll probably know straight away that you're fairly wobbly. Now this is because I've made a triangle, because my hips are wide and my feet are now together, and it's like I'm trying to balance on the tip of a triangle. If I take my legs wide, this is very grounded. The energy's going down because I'm on the bottom of a triangle. So energy's going down here. So when we do wide leg forward bend in a minute, that's a really grounding energy. If, like before, feet are together, energy's going up because energy's trying to lift up and find my way. But if I find the Goldilocks position, and it'll be different for everyone, but the heels are underneath the sacral dips or probably on the insides of the sacrum of the pelvis, what are they called? Hip bones. Then energy's going down and up. And I have this perfect balance, right and left sides, down and up. So once you've found your Goldilocks Tadasana, spend a few moments just breathing up and down. And know that just this is boosting. Let's take our blocks, bring them on the floor in front of us. I want a quite high tower. I'm going to do a wide leg forward fold. I'm going to use the blocks. If you want higher than that, I recommend the front of a chair because it's lush. And you want to be able to do this nicely. So it's not about like, oh, strive and get down and hurt yourself. It's about like being able to actually stay in the pose and feel gravity. So I've taken my legs wide and I'm kind of bringing my toes in a little bit and my heels out a little bit. And this just rolls the top of the thigh bone in so that I can actually roll the pelvis over the top of those thighs. So I'm going to roll over, let the top of my sacrum drop. I'm going to see if I can take the blocks with my hands. So I've got this nice tall setting. I might also have my hands on the chair here. And then it's up to you where you go with this. Maybe if you're staying up high, you can do a restorative chair pose. So I'm going to fold my arms, put my head on my palms, I'm on the chair. Or I might stay here, or I might come down, and I could come down in increments. And when I've come down as far as I want to, in terms of I'm kind of angling down with a straight back, then I could, if it's okay with my back, fold my spine. And then maybe I can find that place where I can rest. Again, the forehead, not crashing all my weight into the block and constricting my neck, but just so that my forehead has some contact that I can rest and drop the weight of my head into the block so I can concentrate on what's going on with my legs and my feet. So I want to make sure that I've still got some weight on my heels, that I'm not sinking into the outside edge of my feet so that my outer ankles are at risk. I'm actually pressing my big toe and my little toe into the floor, well, the balls of the big and little toe. I'm really pushing down to lift up the sacrum to find some lightness there so that again my spine can cascade down. So my inhale, I can draw energy from the earth through my feet to my pelvis, and my exhale, I can cascade it down to the crown of the head and back into the earth. So a few breaths like this, visualizing lifting up through the legs as I breathe in, waterfall softening through the spine as I breathe out. Just lift up. I'm going to come slowly. I went down slowly, so I'm going to come up slowly until I reach a point where my legs can do all the work. Then once the legs can do all the work, I can press the feet down and out into the mat, and I can come up, and then I can zigzag, heels in, toes forward, heels in, toes forward, heels in, toes forward. Find my Goldilocks, and Goldilocks is so there waiting for me. This is effortless now. My legs are so strong. So now I could practice standing on one leg. So tree pose, you can use a block, you can use a chair. If you wanted to use a block or a chair, you'd have the block to one side. You'd maybe have your foot on the block, or you can have the knee against the chair. So if you want those things, just know that they are options for you. We're going to bring the weight onto the right foot. I'm going to feel the weight dropping down through the right heel. So I've shifted my hips over that right leg. And I'm going to lift my left heel. And I'm going to think about this double thing going on. As I press my right foot into the floor, my left knee is going to float. So I'm not lifting, I'm pressing down. And this enables me to lift, to float. And then I can take the hip out. I can bring my foot to the inner calf. I can drop my toes to the floor, heel pressing in. I can even bring it up. Wherever you want to do, you could even do half lotus here if you wanted. The whole time my right foot is pressing down, so I'm not sinking into my right hip, I'm pressing down, and that's lifting me up. And we spent the whole class with this relationship to the earth. So now you can put it to the test. Press down. Everything's strongly pressing into the earth. Everything else is floating and free. It's like when we were lying in Shavasana at the beginning, the back body was heavy and supported and the front body was light and free. Now the leg is heavy and pressing into the earth, and the upper body is floating and free. And then bring the knee forward before you drop it down. Press it into the floor. Come back to both feet. Deep breath through both legs, in and out. And then moving your weight over that left foot. Press left leg down as right heel floats up. Press left foot down as right knee floats up. Take the knee out to the side and then position. Toes on the floor, sole on the calf, anywhere you like. Even, God forbid, if it was pressing against the inner knee, chances are you to live through the class. But we aim to go above or below the knee just in case. Lifting the chest up, pressing the leg down, not sinking. And here becomes your strong grounding. So everything up. I want to say a 5G station. The beams, but maybe that's not a topical conversation for a yoga class. You're a beacon of energy, welcoming. As you're fully grounded into the earth, you're open to receive subtle messages from the upper centers. And then going to come out, bringing the knee forward, and then placing the foot down. Come back to both feet. Breathe in, out through both legs. In as you lift energy up to the hips, out as you drop it down. Oh, and that's Tadasana. It's just so easy now. If you closed your eyes, there may be so little movement now. Your body knows where it is in space now. It doesn't have to calibrate and find and struggle and use all this muscular effort to hold you up. Everything's switched on, everything's alive. So now let's come down. And if you have your bolster, that's great. If not, grab, you could use your 2 blocks with a couple of blankets over the top so it's soft. And you'd use your blocks side by side like this. I'll show you. Where are my blankies? And you'd cover them. So that would be like your bolster. 2 blocks, nice big squishy soft blanket. If you have a bolster and it's a heavy one, get it on its side, ready. In fact, I'll have it here so you can see. No, I won't, because then you won't see my hips. Have it there ready. I'm going to come down into a bridge position. So I'm going to just lie down for a moment in constructive rest. So I'm going to take my feet wide, let my inner knees touch, and I'm just going to rest, let my pelvis rest. Take a minute to reset. You can have your elbows wide and your hands on your pelvis if you want, on your belly, your lower abdomen, or you can have your palms turned up, back of the head on the floor, space between shoulders and ears, space between shoulder blades. Again, new relationship to the earth. And this one really lets the pelvis settle because the weight of the thighs draws down and lets the whole of the pelvis rest and relax. Few deep breaths, that concentration on that exhale, letting everything go, surrendering to that earth that's just waiting to hold you. It's been there the whole time, just waiting, like, when are you going to let me take some of this? You don't have to have all of this on your shoulders all the time. Now bring the feet slightly in so they're forward of your buttocks, knees, feet and hips parallel. And you're going to press on the heels, pressing on the feet, lift the hips up, and then you're going to grab your bolster and put it under your bum. So you want to have it so that the back end of the bolster is at the top of the pelvis. So where you've got you have your hands on your hips and you press down a little bit those bones, that's where the bolster is going to start. I mean, you might want to have it a bit further up into the lower back a little bit, or you might want to have it just so it's supporting the hips so that the lower back can actually cascade down like the waterfall. And then we're going to just have the legs as they are. You could strap, but I am not going to do that. We're not going to stay here very long. Take the constructive rest with the legs, but So I could just have them space, so the chin's not really jamming into the chest, and my shoulders are away from my ears, my arms are away from the body. I could rest here. What I might do, actually, when I kick a block near me, very bad positioning, is just squeeze a block between my knees. So between my knees, I could have the block in this narrow setting or the wider setting if I had wider hips. I think for me the narrow setting's okay, but I'm going to have to adjust my feet so that they're under my knees. And I could press my heels down into the floor and just lift my way up, away from the bolster, just a little bit to activate. And then I could drop my hips down, take the block out the way, again readjust myself, open the sacrum. If I wanted to here also, I could stretch out maybe one leg at a time, press the heel away from me, and just feel a nice opening on the front of the hip there. I'm flexing the foot, I'm turning the toes up to the sky, not out. So I'm internally rotating my thigh. My foot is really active. And I'm just letting this front hip stretch a little bit. And then I could do that with the other side as well. This is optional, all of it's optional really. You could lie in bed and watch this and you'd still get a lot of benefit. So I'm doing the same with the other side. If I wanted to do both sides at once, I could. Quite intense maybe, but some people might like it. You could also take your arms over, so you're having this kind of restorative back bend. You can really breathe and expand the belly and the chest. But you can keep doing it one side at a time, or you could simply rest in this position. And then coming back one foot at a time, back into the bridge position, pressing down on the hips. No, pressing down on the heels, lift the hips and grab that bolster out of the way. Slowly drop your sacrum to the floor. You can come back to that constructive rest with the knees in and the feet out a little bit. Flatten the sacrum underneath you. Take a few breaths there because that might have been intense for the sacrum. Let it rest. And we're moving into our Shavasana now. So if you wanted a bolster under your knees, if you want to stay here for longer, you can take Shavasana like this. Sometimes once you get here, you don't want to start faffing around and setting up. You just want to rest here, and maybe after a while, you'll feel like stretching out one leg at a time. And maybe you won't, and that's okay too. Because we've probably reset the whole relationship between the pelvis and the earth. So it might mean that this constructive rest is what your body needs now to finish your practice. So I'm going to leave you here, and I want you to come back to that feeling of gravity as you breathe in. As you breathe in, feel the belly and chest expanding as they naturally do. Belly rises to the ceiling, chest expands. And as you breathe out, just feel that the earth is holding you and you are dropping your weight into the earth, letting go more and more. And it usually takes actively, and you'll feel, if you're still in constructive rest, you'll feel that the pelvis is very, very heavy. And you can spend that extra time resting the pelvis. Maybe you feel that also if you have the bolster under your knees and you're in relaxation. And maybe you also feel that if the legs are outstretched. So you can spend that time focusing on the pelvis area and the legs. Remember, you can have the legs wherever you want. And we've done so much work. We haven't done many postures, but we did them in a very intense way. so that we really challenged our relationship to the earth. And through that pushing on the earth, we built up a new strength in our legs and a lightness in our upper body that now we get to integrate as we rest. And all you have to do is breathe in and out, and you'll feel that your breath in is a lightness, a freedom, and the breath out is a safe holding. And you can take this off the mat and into your life. With every decision you make, with every out breath you take, you can sink down and be held by the earth. Every new direction you want to move in. Every difficult decision you have to make, you can sink down into the knowing, as Glennon Doyle likes to call it. You sink into the knowing with a capital K. Now the earth's got your back. The earth gives you your strength, but also it gives you your lightness. So stay here for as long as you want, as long as you can, if your schedule allows it, this Sunday morning. When you do want to come out, just wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, come out gently, roll the arms and legs, maybe have a stretch, a yawn, a deep breath, and feel like you're starting your day now with a new body, with a new relationship to gravity. Bend the knees, shift the hips to one side as you roll to the other. Press yourself up with the top hand. And I will leave you with this beautiful grounding sensation. And I'll see you hopefully on Wednesday. We're going to do the heart chakra on the Shanti Center Yoga Holidays page. So have an amazing Sunday, guys. And I'll see you soon.